Good evening, descendants of Erdrick. Winter is here. For some of us, winter's been here for a while, but Winter League is here. Welcome, everyone, to the 2026 Dragon Warrior Randomizer Winter League preview show and Group 1 revealed. I am Destiny of a Dragon Warrior, joined tonight by Diabetes II. Welcome, Diabetes.
Hello, hello. Hope you're having a solid Sunday evening here in the wonderful winter weather across a lot of the US and Canada. So, appropriate that we are starting off the Winter League today.
So we're going to run through the rules and formats and flags for this year's Winter League and then get to the group reveal here. And then at the top of the next hour at 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll have our standard weekly race. So stick around for that as well. So for 2026, let's go through the league format. The regular season and playoffs and the finals is going to be the same format as in previous years. The regular season is going to consist of 5 weeks from February 2nd through March 8th. The playoffs is going to be 2 weeks, March 9th through March 27th. Then the grand finale week is beginning March 23rd.
I think technically the finals are in spring, so does this really count or is this just like all for show? I don't know. We got to figure that out.
Guess it depends on where you are in the northern, southern. I mean, in the southern hemisphere, it's not even winter. We should be doing the summer tournament right now. But for the regular season, it's 5 weeks of group racing. Everyone participating will is guaranteed 5 races. The groups are going to be paired up in 3 or 4 players in each group because since we don't have a number of entrants divisible by 4, there will be 2 groups of 3, and then the remaining 8 groups will be 4 players. For the 4 player races, the scoring will be 5 points for first place in the race, 3 points for second place, 2 points for third place, and 1 point for last. Or if you're in a 3 player race, 5 for first, 3 for second, and 1.5 points for third. For the first, second, and then the fourth week, the groups are completely randomized with the caveat that there will be no repeat matchups. So within groups 1, 2, and 4, you will have different opponents within each of those 3 weeks. Then weeks 3 and week 5 are positional rounds in which the groups are matched up by the top players being in group 1 based on the points so far at that point in the league, and then the next 4 are in group 2 and so on down the line. And then that'll be the same for week 5 in the positional round of the last round right before playoffs. So for some people, week 5 is the playoffs before the playoffs. And as I mentioned, for weeks 1, 2, and 4, there will be no rematches in the randomized weeks.
And just a reminder on that, that does not mean that you will not have a repeat opponent in the positional weeks because those are going to roll independent of that. So theoretically, you could face the same opponent 3 times in weeks 3, something, and 5, but you won't have any duplicate opponents in 1, 2, and 4, as Destiny said.
And then for the playoffs, we're just trying to win a race. For the playoffs, the top 16 participants will make the playoffs heading into week 6. The seeding will be determined by points, and then for point tiebreakers will be determined by strength of schedule. Playoffs will be 4 player races, so week 6 for the top 16, there'll be 4 races of 4 players. The top 2 players in each race advance to the next round, and there'll be no rematch in week 7 of week 6. So it'll be a combination of the top players from week 6 won't face each other in week 7 and so on.
And just a little note there at the top 16 qualifying. If we have a tie that gets us over 16, so 17, 18, whatever players, we will have a tiebreaker race to clarify who physically will fit into the top 16, but where you sit in terms of ranking 1, 2, 3, all the way through 16 will be dependent on that secondary strength of schedule for tiebreaking. But again, if there's a tie for eliminating or getting us to under 16 or to 16 players, that will involve a tiebreaker race.
And then week 8, the grand finale. There'll be a two race series in the grand finale, which is the same as we've done in prior years. It'll be the final four racing. They'll be scoring the same as last year. Last year implemented a change of instead of a point system, it's the aggregate time of the two races combined. So even if someone doesn't take first place or even second place in that first finals race, it's still important to finish with as best time as possible because you never know what's going to happen in that second race. There is a cap though for last place where if the person that ends up in fourth is just struggling to finish the seed and is way far behind, we capped it at 20 minutes past the third place finish. So if the fourth place person is trying to finish and let's say the Dragon Lord is just giving them the business, they'll be cut off then at 20 minutes past third place finish, and then that'll the time that they carry forward into the second finals race. And the person with the shortest aggregate time between those two races will be our 2026 Winter League champion.
All right, we're going to take a look at the actual flag sets. If you've taken a look at the rules document that's been posted for the past month, you already know all of this, but for anyone who hasn't, we'll go through each week and highlight the specific changes or the fun things we have planned for the community.
Week 1, which is going to be for the groups that we reveal at the end of the broadcast here tonight. Winter ain't too cold yet. There's no fork specific flags. Should mention that we are using the unofficial fork of the DW randomizer this year. Many of the weeks will include flags specific to that fork, as well as a mix of flags that are in the official DW randomizer release. So for week 1, we're going to get random weapon prices, which usually helps us out with cheap weapons. Heal Hurt Before More, where we learn the base spell before the More version of that spell. Combination of Permanent Repel plus No Repel in dungeons. Open Sharlock, which means that we don't need to find the items to build the Rainbow Bridge. Sharlock is immediately accessible. And everything is accessible because we don't require magic keys to open doors. And treasure guards are on except for the Overworld Search Spot treasure guard, and there's guaranteed no armor in Sharlock. And one of the features of permanent repel that we usually have is that the players in the race will vote prior to the beginning of that race for if they're going to re-roll the seed. If we happen to get a seed where Erdrick's armor appears in the throne room because of that additional defense, it makes it very challenging to start with permanent repel. You'll be repelling all the enemies that you can fight in most seeds if you get Erdrick's armor at the start.
And just hopping back for a quick second on something Destiny mentioned, I just accidentally skipped the slide there, but talking about the Jouef fork will be used throughout the tournament here. As Destiny mentioned in week 1, none of the flags are going to be enabled with a couple of small exceptions here. So these are the ones that are going to be on unless specifically noted throughout the remainder of the league. So Permanent Torch is always on unless it's noted to be off. Same for Battle Torches and Fairy Water. Speed Hacks on throughout. Death Necklace is enabled throughout. We will have normal flute speed with the random flute music because we really need to appreciate that. And then the safer DW1 run mechanic, the so-called Mercy rule that we had for the summer tournament, will be on throughout here as well.
A couple of features that are added to the tournament edition that we've been running since July are also included as a heads up. The higher gold chest amounts, as well as not being able to soft lock the game by accepting the Dragon Lord's offer. So it's built off of the tournament edition that everyone's been playing for standards since last July. So continuing on with week 2, what do we have? No gold grind? Easy. So with week 2, the wrinkle here is the gold chests are rolled significantly lower than what they are in standard flags. So instead of 500 to 800 roughly, the gold chests only roll 5 to 20, much more close to the original game. Other features on are random chest locations, hurt more doors, and unbreakable keys. So you get one key, you don't lose it, you don't use it up. Aesthetic King, which means that the king doesn't take half of the player's gold when they take a death and get sent back home, offset some of the lower gold chests. Level up refill, which means that when a player uh, gets a level up, they automatically, it's as if they stayed at the inn where they get all of their HP and MP back. That makes the end game pretty interesting. Slightly increased crit chance. I guess it's double the normal crit rate of about 1 to 32 roughly. It's going to be increased to 1 to 16 in this flags. Prices of keys and staying at the inn is randomized between 1 and 255. That Motel 6 and Breckenary might be a little bit more expensive. We do start with 2 spells guaranteed at the beginning of the siege, start with Radiant and Repel. Normalized monster XP and gold, which means that the XP and gold rewards from defeating a monster is randomized within set parameters of that monster. So you won't know exactly how much XP and gold you'll get from a monster in each seed. It'll be slightly randomized, but it won't be like a blue slime giving you 500 experience. It'll be normalized within its relative strength. And then random town entrances is on. So you walk into a town and you might pop in the top of Breckenary instead of the left side, or you might come in by Garenham over by the inn instead of the left side. So you come in different directions into the town.
All right, as we move into week 3 is our first positional round. So this will be based on how you've done through the first 2 weeks. We'll determine where your group placement is and who your opponents are. This is our vanilla plus plus week. The vanilla-ish flag set is always a tradition for the Winter League, so that's what this one is going to be. Vanilla map, chess, and search spots are enabled, so the things that you are expecting to be in the treasure chests and on the search tiles in vanilla will be in the exact same places here. Of course, remember with the vanilla map, we do still have the locations shuffled along the vanilla specific tiles. So you're not going to necessarily have Tanthagil at the Tanthagil spot. Tanthagil might be at the Coal spot and vice versa. Warp Whistle is enabled, which means that the Fairy Flute, when played, will transport you to a place, specifically a town or Tanthagil where you have saved or stayed at the inn. And it'll do so in a predictable order and then just cycle back through. So a convenient way of getting around the vanilla overworld, which can be kind of slow and annoying at times. If you don't like that, you can always discard the flute, so that's a thing. Run costs XP, which is an interesting flag to throw into the mix here. You're guaranteed to be able to run from an enemy, but you lose, I believe it's 1/8 of the XP reward for defeating that enemy in the process. This can lead to some kind of hilarious outcomes, which I'm sure we'll talk about once week 3 starts. Crit chance. We talked about double crit chance in the previous week. This time we have agility over 256. So early in the game, crits are going to be less common. Later in the game, they're going to become significantly more common. Normalized monster XP and gold, as Destiny described for week 2. Same thing here for week 3. NPC guillotine. So if the NPCs are getting in your way, talk to them. They'll disappear. They're out of the way. And then random town entrances once more for week 3.
Week 4. We were waiting for a chaos week, and here it is. Chaos monsters, which means random monster stats, XP, and gold are on. So every time we encounter a monster, players don't know from seed to seed whether it's strong, has high defense, of course, what spells and abilities it has as usual, but also what XP and gold rewards it provides. Along with the chaos enemies, we have random XP requirements adding into the chaos. We don't know when we're going to level up. Random spell MP cost is also on, adding to the chaos. Is Hurt More going to cost 1 MP? Is it going to cost 8? What's going to happen with Heal More? How cheap will Heal More get, and how many of those can we cast when we're trying to finish the game? Level up speed is turned on very fast in conducive with random XP requirements, just so we try to avoid super long XP barrier levels, especially at the end of the game. We've tri-state turned on slightly, 12.5% of items being tri-stated. Treasure guards is on. And then a new flag we haven't seen yet, random key and herb carry. So random key and herb, normally we can only carry 6 of each of those items. We could be within each seed able to carry between 0 or 9 of each of those different items, and it'll be different, like, you could be have a cap of 2 keys and 7 herbs or other numbers in between. NPC Guillotine is back on, as well as the random town entrances for Chaos Week.
And just to clarify on the keys, you will always be guaranteed to get at least have a minimum of 2 to be your carry maximum, just so you don't, have a seed that's not completable because you can't get into like the bottom of the grave. It's in the back of Garen Hammer in the basement or something. So, but it can be very annoying. And last week of the regular season, this is our second positional week, and that is Stair Shuffle made easy-ish. So Stair Shuffle, of course, another Winter League standout. So all the stair interconnectivities are going to be shuffled around. Random chest locations are also complicated by that, so trying to find where exactly that Tablet 2 set is, might have to go and look for it. Random monster XP and gold is on, so your chaos-style monsters, at least when it comes to the rewards, but note not the actual stats for them. Small map plus big swamp to make you really need to dig into those dungeons. Treasure guards are on, but not for the overworld search tile, if there is a overworld search tile that should be guarded based on what's there. Return to town is on, so the spell of return, instead of taking you always to Tantajo, will take you to the last place where you saved or stayed at an inn. So there can be a little bit of strategy to whether and when or how or where you stay at various inns. Hurt More Doors is enabled, so casting the Hurt More spell will open a door. Level of refill, as we talked about earlier, at a different flag set. The Sharlock Inn will be a innkeeper in the bottom floor of Sharlock, just outside the treasury there, and you can stay at the inn there, just like, this is a totally normal place. I'm sure business is great. Random key and herb carry, as we described in the last set. Level 1 Radiant and Repel, and masked overworld location. So instead of being able to see that's definitely a cave, that's definitely a town, it basically will be a tile that looks half like a town, half like a cave, and it could be either. And that's our regular season flag sets. Destiny, what do you think? Are there any standouts here, or it's all going to be fun?
It's all gonna be fun to me. I'm always a fan of Vanilla Week. I always enjoy playing with the vanilla map and then taking the flags from Vanilla Week, but also kind of turning them on their head in some way, which we've definitely done here with the crit chance and the run cost XP. It's going to be interesting how to use that in the beginning of the game as well as the end game. And I think that that's general about a lot of the flags that are in Winter League 2026 is in some cases it can make it game easier or harder, but I think a lot of the flag sets are just turning some of the typical strategy of playing through a randomizer seed and kind of turning it on its head. Like week 2, having the low gold chest, there's no way to rely on a gold grind or, hey, got an early gold chest in the throne room. I've got enough hand axe money to try hero walking to a town. That strategy does not work in week 2. It just changes how to approach some of the seeds and flag sets. Um, some of the details of exactly how some of the nuance of the flags work and interact with each other are included in a link in the Winter League document for the players. There's a link to Jeff's fork, and within there, not only to roll seeds, but there's some really great descriptions of some of the nuances of some of these flags that we're just not able to cover in the time of the broadcast.
And speaking of having to leverage and understand those nuances, oh boy, we have some playoff flag sets to look at as well. Starting off here with the Week 6 flag set, Watch Your Head and Others. So this is the quarterfinals round, if you will, the round of 16. Treasure guards are enabled. We have rotated mirror dungeons, everyone's favorite. We have Hurt More doors enabled, which we've discussed in previous weeks. So casting Hurt More will open doors if you happen to not have keys or choose to save a key for some reason. Bonk damage is enabled anytime that you hear that bonk sound, whether you're walking into an NPC, a wall, or anything, you will take 2 HP of damage, and yes, it is possible to succumb to the bonk damage. Random key and herb carry, as we've discussed earlier, normalized monster XP and gold, NPC guillotine, masked overworld locations, again providing a little bit of extra mystery on the overworld, and then the random town entrances, as we've seen in previous weeks. So bonking can be strategic in some ways, depending on how you approach it in this flag set.
Week 7 is go mode, don't know mode, which is throwing off what typical end of seed go stats are determined to be. With random XP requirements, again, we don't know how far we're going to be from gaining the next level. Random monster stats is turned on. However, XP and gold is the same as standard flags. So you could have a red dragon that's really easy to bring down, only has a couple of hit points, doesn't have a lot of strength, but is still going to reward players with 350 experience, as an extreme example. Small map is turned on. So the map, instead of being 120 by 120, it'll be 90 by 90, which kind of works two ways. I find it both a blessing and a curse, where the map is smaller, so locations are generally a little bit closer to each other. You don't have to spend as much time exploring and finding locations, but it is a lot more challenging to judge where the edge of the map is in small map, and that makes it difficult to determine where exactly you are in relation to the edge of the map, as well as throwing off reverse count strategies. Vendor shuffle is turned on. I don't think we've seen that flag so far. Vendor shuffle will move around where the item shops and the weapon shops are, and the key vendors, and even the radish vendor. So, for example, you walk into, what's a good one? Breckenary. You have your weapon shop up top, you've got fairy waters in the top right, and then you have an item shop in the bottom right. You could have all three of those shops be weapon shops, or two item shops and the radish vendor, and you can't buy a weapon in Breckenary. Return escapes, casting return in battle guarantees running from that enemy. DL1 crits is turned on, as well as the in and key prices being shuffled is on. Random spell MP costs is turned on as well, so that again throws off, probably most importantly, heal more when we're talking about go mode. Magic herbs is on for week 7. I think this is the first time we've seen magic herbs, where instead of using an herb to gain HP back, herbs will gain MP back. So, a lot of magic available to you, but the herbs aren't going to help you if you get a late healing spell. And then Flute for All. Not only does the flute put the golem to sleep, but we have mastered our musical skills and we can put to sleep any and all enemies.
And just to quickly clarify, DL1 crits doesn't mean the Dragon Lord can crit you, it means you can crit the Dragon Lord. At least part 1.
Important distinction. Thank you, Diabetes. Yes.
I mean, if we added the entire mechanic of the enemies being able to crit, that would be that would be something. All right, and if you make it through all the shenanigans to get to the grand finals, we have week 8, the 2-race series, starting off with the kitchen sink version 2026. So we have a number of flags that will be in the tri-state. If you're not familiar with tri-state flags, the flag is either on or off. The players don't know. Nobody knows until you start the seed and discover what happens when you walk around the world. So among the tri-state flags here, we have Big Swamp, Summer Sale, which means that certain pieces of equipment will be discounted, Stair Shuffle, Short Charlock, which means you entering Charlock will go straight to the bottom floor and not have to go through the 7 floors above that. treasure guards, random map size, scared metal slimes, and scaled metal slimes. Random weapon shops, that's what they offer for sale. Random weapon prices as to how much they cost. Random monster zones, so vanilla versus the randomized that we're used to. Make random stats consistent. Again, kind of goes along with random monster stats. If the random monster stats are indeed random, then making random stats consistent would make things that are generally easy not worth as much, and things that are harder worth more. Shuffle chests and searches we've already seen in previous weeks. Random monster abilities, XP and gold rewards, weather torches, and therefore fairy water as well are available to use in battle for damage. Whether keys are required, rotated mirror dungeons as well. We talked about the metal slimes, whether the death necklace is enabled or not, whether no armor and Sharlock is on, and that's all tri-state. The only things that we know for sure is what's down there on the bottom left. No permanent torch. The overworld search spot tile, regardless of what it is, will be unguarded, even if treasure guards turn on, and heal and hurt before more will be enabled as well. And because this is the finals, we know there's a lot of strategy. If you've gotten this far, you know what you're doing, and it's more things to throw in the blender there. That 2 votes each for each individual player to toggle one of the tri-state flags on or off. These are secret ballots, effectively, and depending on what everybody chooses, certain ones of the tri-states will be turned on or off. If 2 votes conflict, it would go back to tri-state. If 2 votes agree, then that means it would take 2 votes against or on the other side to turn that differently. So a complicated flag set, to be sure.
It's very difficult for our finalists to prepare when you don't know what flags are going to be on or off until you encounter the seed, and then you have to figure out what's on or off and adjust your strategies accordingly. And then for week 8B, the second of our finals week, Je suis plus sensible à invisible. Jeff, I didn't get my French lesson. So invisible is the key here, where we're going to have invisible hero, invisible NPCs, and no numbers, invisible numbers. Along with that, random chest locations is on, random XP requirements is on, permanent torches off, just like the previous flags for the finals. So you'll need a torch or radiant to see in the caves. Chaos enemies, random monster stats, and XP and gold. A small map is on. Vendor shuffle is on, so we're shuffling the weapon and item shops again. Get the benefit of return escapes to get out of battle. 2 hit points for bonk damage is on, so your sprites are invisible, the NPCs are invisible, you're bumping around and got to be careful taking that 2 HP bonk damage, or again, it could be used to your advantage to take a forced death warp if desired, depending on the situation. No crits, no excellent moves. Flute is discardable, so you can dispose of the flute instead of having it stuck in your inventory and taking up an inventory spot. NPC guillotine is turned on, so if you're invisible and you bonk into an invisible NPC, the NPCs that move you can talk to and they'll be removed. Works the same as when you can actually see everybody. Random princess location is on, so kind of similar to random chess locations, but for the princess, where there are designated other locations in dark caves where Princess Gwaelin could be held captive by a guard. So finding that underworld swamp cave spike enemy could be an issue, or if you need Gwaelin for your coordinates counts, if there's coordinates. And then mass overworld locations again, and random town entrances.
That's definitely a flag set. And just to clarify, there won't be coordinates because there's no numbers. It would be hard to count if you can't see where you're supposed to count to.
Good answer. Good answer. We want to see that happen. Let's just search every spot, or we'd have to turn on the overworld treasure guard again and just bump and figure out what that is, right? So yeah, we do have that feature. Very good. So
Hey, it's already
just
small
imagine
map.
the
It can't be that bad to just search every single tile, right?
90 times 90, and then there's some water paths. Oh, well, we might be here all night. So those are our playoff flags. Week 6 and week 7, not a whole lot more going on with them in terms of the number of flags that are turned on relative to the regular season, but a few more unique flags like the rotated mirror dungeons, don't appear until the playoffs, the really throwing off go mode stat situation and the end game for week 7, that could be a very fast uh, flag set depending on how the random XP requirements go. And sometimes fast seeds are more challenging competitively because you have so much less margin for error and time loss. And then, of course, week 8, the finals, that's just punishment for our finals and amusement for all of our viewers, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. You highlighted some of it already. I think week 7 is probably going to be the craziest one. Just the idea that, I mean, we'll talk about it when we get to the actual separate weeks, but think about what the implications would be of something like random spell MP costs, magic herbs, and flute for all. Or even some of those just independently. This one could be very crazy. But yeah, I agree. Here, look, 8B is going to be that's going to be a bear. That's going to be something. I think there's going to be a lot of memes to be had for that week, and that's what's going to help us determine a champion. Well, I think it's about that time. The reason that everybody is here and they want to hear us stop talking and just get to the point, right? Is it that time, Destiny?
It's that time. Can we get a drum roll, please, for the week 1 group assignments?
Yeah, I don't have a button for that. Next time, next time.
Group 1. So these are all randomized. We're going to have 8 groups of 4 and 2 groups of 3. Here are the week 1 races: Yakko Wacko, Judge Joe, Zarnax, and Cyberdark.
In Group 2, we've got Jay Coper, Old Vampire Lady, Jeff, and Beta.
Group 3, Artorias 308, Xylanor, EMP any amount of money, and C Parsley.
In Group 4, we have NG Dave, we have Tybalt, Chadbert, and Ryguy.
Group 5, IC 10As, Kigalus, Slamu, and Quinn Patrick. A lot of underscores in this one.
Pretty much all the underscores from my recollection. Or close to it. Group 6, Silly Dabbit, Sassage Link, Ziggy, and Angel FM.
Here's Group 8, Miplet, Secret Agent Man, Night Dew, and Aaron to you too.
In Group 8, we've got Chris, Bob Pineapple, and some guy that happens to be me, Diabetes the Second.
Group 9, Edge, Sandcraft, Sawney Wrath, and some guy, Destiny of a ridiculously long username.
Yeah, I appreciate the DW there because I really didn't want to have to reformat everything just for one long name. My name is second longest, so this works. And finally, we have Group 10, Synth, Dweem, and Zatrex, wrapping up our groups, our 38 entrants in this year's Winter League.
Full disclosure, the reason why Group 8 has only 3 players is because that was a 4-player group, and then we had someone withdraw from League kind of after we had rolled the groups, so we just made it simple and withdrew that person from Group 8. So no other reason why Group 8 and Group 10 have the 3 players besides Group 10 was supposed to have 3 players, and Group 8 was supposed to have 4 just like the rest, but someone withdrew, so it was just easier to pull them out and move on.
Taking a look at the groups here, I think I see a lot of very high potential groups that are kind of fun here. So highlighting one or two of them here real quick. Group 4, we got NG Dave and Tibble, a couple of new runners when it comes to the Winter League and to DWR in general. I think they've both done a couple of races. So it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do here in Group 4 in the first week with a couple of veterans. I think Rai Guy was in the finals multiple times in the past, and of course Chad Burt's no slouch himself. So this will be a fun group.
New players are always a wild card. You don't know what you're going to get. We saw Chirno the Ice Fairy in summer tournament get to the finals in their first tournament, so anything can happen.
Any other groups that stand out to you, Destiny?
I think Group 2 is interesting with the combination of all four of them being Winter League veterans: Jake Hoper, Old Vampire Lady, Jeff, and Beta. None of which, however, have been successful in winning Winter League. And so you look at a Jake Hoper, you look at a Beta, could be their year. I think Beta's going to have a target on his back being the summer tournament champion. This is a really interesting group to knock out in week 1.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just something to, I suppose, to consider as well. As anybody recall that is on the list that will be your opponent this week is you will not see them as an opponent in weeks 2 or 4. So that is something also to consider moving forward. I think the other group that stands out to me is probably here in Group 6. This is a tough group with Silly David, Sassage Link, Ziggy, and Angel. We're talking about, you know, former tournament champions. We're talking about consistent playoff appearances. This is a pretty challenging week 1 group assignment. So I expect some fireworks out of this group.
It's all going to depend on how our players adapt to each flag set week to week, and especially with so many new flag sets being introduced through the fork. Some of our players have a lot of experience playing with the fork flag through the Vexologist event and just casually, and some of our non-standard races on Wednesdays. Some of our participants have admittedly have little to no experience with the variety of flags that are being used in Winter League 2026. So it's really going to depend on how the players adapt to the different situations and strategies and challenges that come with the flag sets each week.
And of course, it wouldn't be a DWR event if we didn't need volunteers to help. Obviously, we have a couple of us here tonight from the admin staff for the reveal show, but we will have, assuming everything stands as it currently is, we will have 10 races per week that will need to be covered by a broadcaster, commentators, and trackers. So if you have experience doing these things, fantastic. If you don't have experience doing these things, that's okay too. We will get you set up as much as we can. Our biggest need usually is in the broadcasting booth, so the person who's actually commandeering the actual broadcast and the restream itself. It's also, of course, probably unsurprisingly, the thing that requires the most knowledge and expertise. But if you do have the ability and the desire to help us out, we would be more than happy to have you. If you've never done commentation, really. If you've never commentated for us before, if you've never tracked before, if you can talk and you can click a button, you can pretty much help out with those. So we would be happy to have you. We would be happy to pair you with somebody who's more experienced as well to make sure we're not kind of leaving you dangling in the wind when it comes to those things. So reach out to any of the tournament admin, whether through DM or ping us in the DWR Discord, just with the @tourneyadmin, and that will get our attention, and hopefully we'll have you on board for that. Because we would like to get all of these restreamed live when they happen. Obviously, if there's schedule conflicts, we might have to pick one over the other and then broadcast the second one later. But in general, we will like to try to restream all of these. And I think that pretty much wraps it up for this year's 2026 DWR Winter League reveal show. Destiny, additional thoughts? What do we have to look forward to over the next couple of months?
Well, what happens next for our players is Still this evening, we're going to get you assigned to your groups. You're going to see your group in the Discord. That's where you'll start messaging your other opponents and find a time that works for everyone to get a race this week before the end of day Sunday. Try to start communicating and get your schedule sorted out as quickly as possible. The days do move pretty quickly throughout the week. Um, and from there, we have a lot of action coming up on the DW Randomizer channel. Like just with the regular season, we've got 10 groups each week, 5 weeks. That's 50 races that not only we'll need volunteers for, of course, to get the broadcast going and give a great presentation for all of the excitement that's going to happen, but we really looking forward to watching myself as a competitor, seeing what the other players are going to do, see what each seed within each week showcases. Some of the seeds might be very fast and have a lot of things available in the early game and just be real jetty and go, go, go. Others could be very challenging, slow slogs getting off from the start, or long end games, or difficult pieces to figure out with chaos enemies. So kind of similar to the dynamics of standard flags, of variety of seeds within each flag set, but there's a lot of different strategies and changes with the Winter League flags. We kind of are targeting the flags. We designed them to be finishing within roughly the 60 to 90 minute range that is typical of standard flags. All in all, of course, there's volatility, and even more so with the Winter League flags, but planning to have them about the same length as what a typical standard seed would present to us.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of fireworks really throughout the month, or really the 2 months, whether it's regular season or playoffs. I expect we're going to see a lot of surprises. We're going to see a lot of fantastic finishes. Really looking forward to this year's Winter League. As Destiny mentioned, anyone who is in the league and playing with us this year, we will have everybody sorted into their appropriate groups where you can get all your scheduling and stuff done within probably the next hour or so. Might be after, I would say, after the Standard Flags race, which will still happen in about 20 minutes. So once we get off here, we're going to send things over to Cambion, who will be covering the restream tonight for the final Standard Flags weekly race until we take a break for the Winter League. But look for all of those groups. We will introduce you to each other, make sure you get everything set, and then when you're ready and you have everything scheduled, unlike the summer tournament where you do it yourself, just ping one of the DWR Tourney admin and we'll get everything squared away on the schedule. I think that's about it.
Thanks so much for the slideshow, Diabetes, and hosting with me tonight. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you for our participants, and looking forward to a great league. Good luck and have fun, everyone.
I had to do it at least one more time, guys. It's very fun. All right, again, everybody join us again at the top of the hour, 8 p.m. for the weekly standard race. Have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you then.